constitution, it's a written constitution also. One of the feature of federal constitution is that it must be written constitution, and Indian constitution is a written constitution. Where written constitution means here it's the very much feature of the written constitution. Here powers and function and the duties of all the state machineries or states organs are very much limited. It's very much specified. What is the function of the parliament? What is the duties of the president? What are the cabinet ministers' power? Everything has been determined. Everything has been framed. That's why it is a written constitution. And written constitution is very much related to the limited government. Means government's power are limited. It's very much determined. It's very much framed within the written constitution. And written constitution is one of the feature of the federal constitution also. Federal constitution where powers of the two such governments have been distributed and been defined. In that sense, Indian constitution is a written constitution and it's one of the chief characteristics of the federal constitution. Preamble. Preamble is one of the salient feature. There are some constitutions also in the world where there is no preamble. But Indian constitution has the preamble. And this preamble is very much elaborative preamble, and this preamble is very much definitive and which has given the manual form that which has defined the purpose, object, scope, and source of the constitution. If we see the preamble of the Indian constitution, their constitution has told that preamble has told that constitution is a sovereign, secular, socialist, democratic republic. In that sense, we can understand from this preamble that nature of the constitution. Apart from that, it is also written that we the people of India. So here we can get the source of the constitution. What is the source of the constitution from preamble? You can understand because here powers are very much given. The source of the power is given. That is the people of India. So preamble is not only that, it is attaining what is the object, what is the object of this constitution, that is also mentioned in the preamble, that justice, equality and liberty. So that is the object. So that purpose and to attain the integrity, unity and integrity among the citizens. So in this way, this comprehensive preamble is giving the all guidelines of the constitution. It's a socialist state also. This constitution is telling about a socialist state. Indian constitution, if we see the socialist, it is also mentioned sovereign, socialist, secular. The socialist word is there. But apart from the socialist, it was inserted in 42nd Amendment 1976. But apart from that, it was from very beginning it is a socialist. If we see the features of the direct principle state policy, some of the provisions is very much socialist in nature. If you see distribution of the wealth, or suppose labor's participation in a managerial decision making, or suppose uniform civil code, all the labor related provisions, all of these are the very much in the nature of environmental justice, environmental protection, social oriented or societal development is there. So in that sense, it is told that this is a very socialist constitution, and it is telling the object of the socialist, this state. Now, welfare state. Indian constitution also leads towards the welfare state. It is categorically mentioned in your directive principle state policy. In Indian constitution, there is a part 4 which is consisting from articles 36 to article 51, where some directives are given from the constitution towards the state to adopt those policies. So that's why this part is known as directive principles of state policy, and where it was categorized why those policies should be adapted to attain the India into a welfare state. So that's why this is very much objective of the constitution to make the India as a welfare state, and that's why directives are given. Actually, origin source of these directives are the means socio-economic cultural rights. And when the Indian constitution was framed on that time, the founding fathers were very much aware about the UD, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, and there are some provisions which are very much socio-economic cultural rights. This is known as the second generous right. Those are not enforceable before the court of law, not justiciable before the court of law. In spite of that, those should be adapted, and means states should adopt those policies. Not only that, uh, those are, if you see, the after the development of the this public interest litigation or judicial activism, indirectly judiciary has adapted those rights in indirect form, and those are established as the social justice. So if state has failed to fulfill to attain the welfare state, then judiciary is coming here. So judicial review is also important here, but welfare state was the object when Indian constitution was framed, and ultimately when that's why DPSP was inserted, and ultimately after the 42nd amendment, this object was very much determined. This is a political concept, but ultimately it got the legal sanctity. Secular state. Indian constitution is a secular constitution, as according to Indian means state administrative system. If you see, the secular state means that there is no state religion, and there is a non-existence of any kind of religion in the state functionary, state machineries. So that is the perfect example of the secular state, and there is a strong wall between the state and between the religion. At the same time, this is a responsible government also. Responsible government means government is responsible towards the public at large. Democratic form of government, governments are being elected, and every activity is the government subject. You know, it's financial activity. There is so many commissions are there, so many committees are there in parliament. Apart from that, every financial matter in means those government is responsible towards the public. And not only that, if there is any kind of ambiguity, if there is any kind of irregularity, or if there is any kind of violation of constitutional provision, even fundamental right provision, then government is can be challenged before the court of law. Any person, any citizen can file the case, writ petition before the High Court or before the Supreme Court for the work of the government. So that is the responsible government. Government is responsible towards constitution. Indirectly, who is the maker of the constitution? People of India is the maker of the constitution. So indirectly, government is also responsible towards the people of India. And any people, any public, any person out of this people of India may file the writ petition, can responsible the government, and government is accountable towards the public before the court of law. Fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are one the salient, or you may say very important feature of the Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights are those rights which are very much fundamental in nature, which without very much related to the person, each and every public. Those are fundamental, and state cannot deny those rights. So that's why this is known as a negative right everywhere. Our part means part 3 of the Indian Constitution deals with the fundamental rights. All fundamental rights starts with the negative words. So that's why it means no state can do, or state cannot do, no person can be deprived of the life and personal liberty. In this way, if you see, it is giving the negative restrictions, means putting the restriction on the state. So it is giving the negative. In that sense, it is known as the negative right. Those are, if you see the human rights standpoint, those rights are very much the civil and political rights. In the same sense, when the UDHR was framing, or when in the Indian Constitution was framing, on that time the members were very much aware about this UDHR, and that's why they put this maximum provision of the first generation right, that is the civil and political rights, under chapter fundamental rights. And those rights are justiciable, means any person who has deprived of his fundamental right, or whose fundamental right has been guaranteed by constitution, is failed to fulfill its object, or any kind of violation, they can go before the court of law under Article 32 of Indian Constitution, before the Supreme Court, under 226 before the High Court. So these are fundamental rights are guaranteed by the constitution. Minority and backward classes are one of the important feature, or one of the important salient feature of Indian Constitution, where you can find that particular provision for the minorities are there, protections of the minorities are there, linguistic minority, religious minority, every kind of minorities are there protected, and backward classes, so many provisions are there, and the fundamental rights also, where special provisions, special rights are given. Equality should be maintained, but some justice, as we have seen, to attain the welfare state, India has to go do some social justice. And how this social justice have to do that? Through the giving some protection, some reservation for those classes which are very much oppressed, or they have not got the proper representation or proper scope during this time of our attaining the our present position. So that's why their particular provisions are there in which is constitutionally guaranteed. Now, fair election. Free and fair election is one of the important feature of Indian Constitution, and this has been very much guaranteed by the Constitution. This is a democratic set of government. There is no titular head. Sorry, there is no means monarchical head, and there is no hereditary form of government. Governments are being elected by the public. Each and every public are entitled who has attained through the adult franchise. So here, government election is very important part of this. Parliamentary set of government, and throughout the means Kashmir to Kanyakumari general elections are being conducted time to time, uh, and those are being a part or parcel of the duties under the national your that is Election Commission of India. You will find one chapter in Election Commission of India. This is also Constitution has given the power, function, their duties of the Election Commission. So Election Commission of India is vested with the duties and rights and the powers to conduct a free and fair election. And free and fair election is a sine qua non of the democratic government. So governments, if in many countries there are democratic setup of government, but free and fair elections are not being done, or if that is done, always the same set of governments are being elected time to time. So here democracy is not the in the literal word democracy is there, but in the practically free and fair election is there. There is another famous case when Kesavan Bharati case, when it was decided their basic features are the very much important. Constitution may be amended. Amendment chapter is there in 368 where constitution can be amended, article 368, but basic feature cannot be amended. And in the Nehru Gandhi case, it was decided that free and fair election is one of the basic feature. So this free and fair election not only a salient feature, it's a basic feature also of the Indian Constitution. And through the amendment also, this feature cannot be deleted or cannot be this power cannot be abrogated, or this provision cannot be taken away. So this is a very much salient feature as well as basic feature which cannot be amended. And judicial review. One of the important salient feature is the judicial review. Judiciary is the watchdog for this federal government, and Indian Constitution is the federal constitution, which has a basic features of the federal government, and where authority court of important thing. Now, judicial review means judiciary can review the every action of other constitutional other body state organs, suppose executive legislation. If you see the UK constitutionalism where judicial review is only the administrative actions of the executives are available, but Indian constitution has given the enough power where the administrative action as well as legislative action is subject to the judicial review. Judiciary can review the administrative action, executive action. Judiciary can review the executive action. Judiciary can review the legislative action, and judiciary can review the judicial action. Obviously, it is under the statutory law. So here judiciary is the watchdog for all the constitutional activities, and if there is any kind of overlapping violation or if it is not properly being followed, then judiciary can review the subject to the judicial review. So judiciary is a touchstone for this Indian constitution through which any law passed by the parliament can be declared as void, null and void, if it is violating any of the fundamental principles or any of the federal feature of any of the constitutional feature. So that's the main theme of the judicial review. But that is also important part of Indian constitution. Apart from that, this is as from very beginning we have discussed, this is the federal constitution also. Indian constitution is a federal constitution. Federal constitution means, as we have seen, the federal constitution should have the five most important thing, that is the two sets of government must be there. Here one is the state government, another is the central government. Means the two sets of governments, these two sets of governments, they are making the agreement, they are making the association, and they are forming a new state where they have some distribution of the power. This power includes this the legislative power, executive power, and judicial power. So they are the properly distributed. If you see the Indian constitution, we will see Indian Constitution has one Schedule 8, sorry, Schedule 7. Indian Constitution has a schedule out of the 12 schedule. Schedule 7 is there where the powers of legislative powers have been distributed. Means there are three lists you will find. Where is the union list, state list, and a concurrent list. Union list on those topics where union government can make law. State list means where the state government can make laws, and there is a concurrent list where state and central both can make law. Those are the legislative powers. But Indian Constitution, this is the very much feature of the federal constitution. Apart from that, you will find the authority of courts are there. You will find that the this is a written constitution also. This is also the feature of the federal constitution. Apart from that, there is a rigidity. Rigidity is one of the important thing. Though India has the rigidity, in the blend of the rigidity and flexibility. Rigidity means the provision cannot be amended physically, very simply or automatically. There is a rigid process is there. Parliamentary procedure is. That's why amendment chapter is there in the constitution where so many types of amendments are mentioned. So these all are the features that are very much related to the federal constitution. So this is the federal constitution. And another provision is important area is that the emergency provision. Emergency is one of the important thing. If you see the Indian constitution, you will find some provisions under emergency situation. Means there are mentioned there, it has been mentioned that there are three types of emergencies: central emergency, missing state emergency, and financial emergency. Center can declare a whole country may be come under the emergency period, or particular state can be declared as emergency, or financial means if there is any kind of financial irregularity, financial emergency can be declared. So in this way, these types of emergency provisions are one of the basic salient feature of the Indian Constitution. Those are not found in earlier constitution. Generally, it is seen that those constitutions which have been passed or which have been made after the Second World War or the First World War, they who has seen and who were aware about the destruction and emergency situation during the war period, they have inserted this emergency provision in their constitution. In that sense, emergency provision is one of the important salient feature of Indian constitution. In this way, all of these salient features are very much inherent, very much unique, and those are the very much example of the Indian constitution. Thank you.